So, today we're going to talk about Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a country with a government that was, get this, intentionally designed to be one of the most complicated systems on the entire planet. And there's a really powerful reason why.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a pretty wild idea. Imagine a country built not for speed, not for efficiency, but for something way more fundamental. What if all that complexity was actually the point? What if it was its greatest strength?
So, why? Why would anyone on Earth design a system like this? That's the big question we're going to tackle. And the answer, well, it gets right to the heart of the country's entire modern story. To get that answer, we've got to rewind the clock back to the 1990s. You see, this whole political setup, it wasn't dreamt up in some quiet, peaceful boardroom. No, it was literally forged in the fire of a devastating war.
And that's because the constitution that created modern Bosnia and Herzegovina had one, and really only one, top priority: stop the fighting, and make sure it could never start again. It wasn't about building a slick, efficient government. It was about achieving peace, at almost any other cost.
So the people who put this peace deal together, they made a very specific, very deliberate choice. They built a system where it would be impossible for any one of the main ethnic groups, the Bosniaks, the Croats, or the Serbs, to dominate the others. The whole point was to guarantee nobody got shut out of their own country's future. And you can see this power-sharing idea in action perfectly when you look at the presidency. I mean, the country doesn't just have one head of state. It has three: one Bosniak, one Croat, and one Serb. And to make sure no one group gets too comfortable, the top job, the chairmanship, rotates between them every 8 months. It's the ultimate check and balance. Okay, so this system was built for peace. But as you can probably guess, that design comes with a pretty hefty price tag. It's created some massive challenges when it comes to just, running the country day to day. And this is where we hit the central paradox of Bosnia and Herzegovina. On one hand, the system has been a huge success. I mean, its main goal was to keep the peace, and it has. The country is still one piece. But on the other hand, the very same features that stop one group from taking over also lead to total political gridlock. When everyone has a veto, it's incredibly easy to just blame the other guy and get absolutely nothing done. But it's not just about paralysis. There's a deeper, kind of moral problem here. The Constitution officially recognizes only those three constituent peoples. So what about everyone else? What if you're Jewish or Roma, or just don't identify with one of the main three groups? Well, you're shut out. You literally can't run for the highest offices in the land. And that creates this huge tension between ethnic identity and your basic rights as an equal citizen. So because the whole system is built around these ethnic lines, politics becomes all about ethnicity. Leaders often fire up their base by appealing to their specific group, which, ironically, just ends up reinforcing the very same divisions the whole thing was supposed to manage in the first place. All right, so if tearing up the Constitution and starting over isn't really on the table, and let's be honest, it's probably not, then how does the country actually move forward? How do you break this cycle of stalemate? Well, the answer probably isn't some big, flashy redesign. It's something a lot slower, a lot more practical. It's about rebuilding trust by simply making the system that's already there work, making it deliver for ordinary people day in and day out. What does that look like? It means focusing on things that everybody wants, no matter who they are. Things like courts you can actually trust, roads without potholes, new jobs, better schools. The basics. Because when people see that working together actually makes their lives better, the whole political calculation starts to change. It shifts from protecting your group to wanting progress for everyone. And there's a really powerful symbol of this shared future right in the landscape itself. I mean, look at the country's incredible natural beauty. Over half of it is forest. Those forests, those rivers, that's something everyone shares. It's a natural starting point for working together on things like tourism or protecting the environment, where what matters is what you can do, not who you are. So this all leads us to the big final question, right? After all these decades, what's the ultimate verdict on this incredibly complex experiment in building peace? And really, you can look at the future here in two totally different ways. The pessimistic view, it's easy to see. You see the constant political fights, the corruption, young people leaving for better opportunities. But there's another view, a quieter, more optimistic one. And it points to the country's amazing resilience, the fact that the state has survived against all odds,
and that deep down, people are still living their lives together, side by side, despite all the politics trying to drive them apart. So really, the challenge has changed over time. The first challenge was huge. Just stop a war. They did that. But the next one is maybe even harder. It's building a society where starting a fight is just not a good way to win an election anymore, where it's politically unprofitable for anyone. And that's the real test, isn't it? It's the question that everything hinges on. Can the institutions, the government, the courts, work well enough, consistently enough, that people start to trust the law more than they trust their tribe? Can it make everyday life feel secure and dignified for everyone? That's the question that will define the future.